There is a crime problem here. And as far as having an issue, taking issue with the National Guard having a temporary presence to get your city, this city, our nation's beautiful capital, under control and safe, I didn't hear any problems from Washington, D.C. residents or my colleagues on the other side of the aisle when 20,000 National Guards came in and surrounded the Capitol building and prohibited your First Amendment rights to petition your government with your grievances. I didn't see an uprising there. We weren't happy about the fences and the hundreds of miles of barbed wire surrounding our nation's capital, and armed National Guard, tens of thousands of them, keeping you out of the people's house. But now they're here to help and keep you safe, and that's somehow an issue.
You may never see a more pathetic and half-baked attempt at a gotcha moment than this one here from Colorado Representative Lauren Boebert. You don't have to be a scholar to understand the differences between deploying the National Guard to the Capitol building to quell and control the violent mob that Trump himself incited January 6th, while an actual coup was being planned to his federal takeover of Washington, D.C. under the guise of cracking down on crime. But we all know Republicans like Boebert are in this position precisely because they are willing to throw the truth aside in exchange for Trump's blessing and all the perks that come with giving him unyielding loyalty. Not only is she living in a completely separate reality, operating on a completely contrary set of facts to the truth, but she's doing so at the behest of an authoritarian regime, hoping not to have that regime turn on her.
Well, y'all live here. We're here a lot during the year. We see it. We don't need the data. We know it's manipulated because we see everything. You can't even go into a CVS store and get a bottle of shampoo because it's locked up. We want this to be a beautiful place for people to visit. The history here in this city is incredible. Our nation's capital should be celebrated. People should want to come here and certainly feel safe. And thanks to President Trump and the legislation that we are marking up today.
So here's what makes that clip even more telling. Boebert went on to say she doesn't need the data about crime in D.C. to justify bringing in the National Guard. I mean, think about that. An elected member of Congress proudly announcing she doesn't need facts. That's not just unserious, it's dangerous, because when the truth becomes optional, when evidence no longer matters, what fills the vacuum is ideology, and in this case, an ideology that thrives on fear, misinformation, punishing vulnerable communities. It's a perfect snapshot of the MAGA playbook. Loyalty to Trump above loyalty to the truth.
For the most egregious crimes, those defined in statute as dangerous crimes and crimes of violence, the judge is required to impose a pretrial detention of the offender. These crimes include terrorism, assault of a police officer, carjacking, child sexual abuse, murder, as well as other heinous crimes that we see all too often here in our nation's capital. This bill would also require mandatory cash bail for serious crimes that pose a threat to public safety and order, including fleeing a police officer, rioting, and stalking, among others. For such serious crimes, those defined in the bill as public safety and order crimes, requires cash bail as a condition of pretrial release. For all other crimes, the bill retains the current law process for pretrial release. Conditions for anyone eligible for pretrial release include refraining from committing other crimes and the collection of defendants' DNA. For all defendants eligible for pretrial release, the judge may apply additional escalating sanctions, including curfews, retaining to custody outside of hours of employment, and other conditions the judge deems appropriate to ensure the public safety and compel appearance at hearings. Current D.C. code allows judges to release those convicted of crimes who are awaiting sentencing or appeal if the judge feels the convict will not flee and does not propose danger to others. The bill also eliminates this judicial discretion and requires detention upon conviction. No longer will progressive judges be able to release criminals to the streets of the district with only a promise that they will not reoffend and will show up in court. It will remove radical progressive loopholes that allow violent offenders to roam the streets of the district, posing a threat to residents and visitors. Those charged with obstruction of justice, fleeing from law enforcement, rioting, destruction of property, or stalking will no longer receive the least restrictive conditions for release, sometimes no bail at all.
Let's be clear about what our proposal would actually do. Mandatory cash bail for more offenses, stripping judges of discretion, making pretrial release harder. These aren't policies designed to keep people safe. They're designed to keep poor people in jail, while anyone with resources buys their way out even faster. They don't address the reasons people commit crimes. They don't make communities stronger. They create a system where wealth decides your freedom and poverty guarantees your punishment. That's not public safety. That's a two-tier justice system made worse.
You brought up that there's so many people, cities across the entire country that are criminalizing homelessness, and it's true, it's going on. After the disastrous Supreme Court decision, Grants Pass versus Johnson, we see cities across the country criminalizing homelessness. Hell, my own city of Orlando has done it too, and I think it's despicable. I think it's wrong if a blue city does it. I think it's wrong if a red city does it. Because the problem here is you're not looking to solve homelessness. You're looking to hide it. You're not looking to provide an alternative to living on the street. You're looking to brush it away to another place.
Will the gentleman yield?
And not yet. And I think it's important. The other thing is the sponsor of this bill brought up, well, we're just giving them a tool. The tool is criminalization. That's the tool that you're handing federal law enforcement, that they can be fined and jailed. Further putting people who are having a tough time in life living on the streets into this cycle. You were talking about supporting services. Well, you have a chance. Donald Trump's FY26 budget, he wants to cut HUD by 44%. I'll yield to you if you can tell me if you're going to stand up to that. You were saying that you want to have services for people. This would make massive cuts to affordable housing, homeless services, rental assistance, all the things that help us keep people off the streets. Will you join us in opposing that?
That's a great talking point. We both know that the funding's not going to be different. So I mean,
the funding
yes,
will be different.
A budget
the number
is an
for the
aspirational
programs.
document.
I'll reclaim my time. The number for the programs that help homeless services will go down. Do you support that?
The president's budget is always an aspirational document, and we both know. And again,
I'll reclaim my time. Are you saying it doesn't matter what the? I mean, your president's saying he wants to cut HUD by 44%.
We have $37 trillion
I'll
in debt
reclaim my
with a $2 trillion
time.
annual
I'll reclaim my
deficit.
time. 44%. He wants to cut HUD. He wants to cut homeless services for your district and my district. Do you agree with that? I'll yield if you can answer yes. Yes or no. Really.
You and I both know that the funding will be no different than last year.
Oh, so
we're going to move forward.
So you'll work at opposing the president's request.
I know how the system works, and I know that it requires 60 votes in the Senate to change government funding, and we're not going to get 60 votes to do anything. So we're going to have a CR. But again, how are you going to help the 5,600 people? You say that this
I'll
is not a
reclaim my
tool.
time. I'll reclaim my. How are we going to help them? By fighting to ensure that the president and your party doesn't further erode the little services that we have in this country. We need housing, not handcuffs. We have a housing crisis in this country.
Well, the gentleman yield.
Every time the rent goes up $100, homelessness goes up 9%. Let me say it one more time. Every time the rent goes up $100, homelessness goes up 9%. Homelessness is a housing problem. And you have no solutions for us here. You're talking about, again, trying to hide a problem rather than fix a problem. It is both cheaper and less challenging for us as a nation to keep people housed than, yes, to help them when they're on the streets. We need to help people when they're on the streets, but we need to fund rental assistance, transitional housing, permanent supporter housing, shelters, all this suite of services that help us keep our people on top of a certain line. Because it does cost more, and it is harder, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't do it.
Will the gentleman yield?
And the president that you follow and that you are lauding wants to make a historic cut to the few services that we have so we can keep people from off the streets. And I think it's despicable. And you come here and try to act like there's a problem with us because we have a problem with you working to criminalize homelessness. People see beyond
it's
that.
already criminal. The D.C. City Police are not enforcing it. So What do you want us to do?
The tool you want to give federal law enforcement is allow them to go and arrest people who are sleeping on the streets because they have nowhere else to sleep. We shouldn't be criminalizing homeless people for the failures of government. Let's step up. Let's try to work together and ensure that we eradicate homelessness and fix this housing crisis.
Contrast that with what Representative Maxwell Frost laid out in the very same hearing. His approach wasn't about posturing. It was about solutions, meeting people's basic needs so they don't feel forced into crime to begin with. Housing, healthcare, education, jobs, the building blocks of stability. That's how you lower crime rates sustainably. That's how you create safer communities without destroying lives. And it's exactly the shift this country needs, away from a failed punitive ethos toward a justice system built on rehabilitation, accountability, human dignity. Because if we keep repeating the mistakes of the past, we'll keep getting the same broken results.